So, because Mexican American and Latinx culture in the U.S. is not typically taught as U.S. history, culture, or its influences on popular culture, political culture, we're often missing out so much of the history and the story, right? So we can look to spaces where Latinos and Mexican Americans, Chicanos, have been the subject of racist violence, as seen in the Zoot Riots of 1943, where young Mexican Americans and Latino youth were attacked by service members over a series of days. It was a racial pogrom. So I will include the link to this video about the Zoot Riots. Please do check this out. And we can also look to examples of organizing that have also influenced politics and popular culture. We can look to the United Farm Workers movement, which started in 1962. Right, so this is a way of thinking of the role of leaders like Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, and their role and influence amongst the workers, the farm workers, and the political organizers to get people organized to be, engaging with unionizing, and what does it mean to organize, the purposes behind organizing for dignity, respect, living wages, and so forth. And also recognizing the ways in which all of the issues for which the United Farm Workers were organizing in 1962 remain relevant today in current organizing, right? In current organizing of farm workers. Right? So this is a link to a documentary here on United Farm Workers. Please check out, even if it's the first 10 minutes of this, right? It roots us particularly in the Coachella Valley and organizing there. So we can look to the ways in which there was interracial organizing. We look to different groups of that era, like the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. We can see here to this photo on the right-hand side, that's Bobby Seale of the Black Panther Party, alongside Cesar Chavez. We see on the left, Yuri Kochiyama. I think it's just important to know that there was a lot of across racial and interracial organizing in this moment, as there is today, right? Here's a picture of Cesar Chavez, Coretta Scott King, the wife of Martin Luther King Jr., and Dorothy Day. Another important moment to examine would be the Chicano Moratorium of 1917. Okay, so you had Chicanos organizing around schools and organizing around the war, the ways in which Chicanos and Latinos were overrepresented in those who were going off to fight in Vietnam. And, they're like two sides of the same coin, right? You're sending folks off to fight, and at the same time, we see schools and underfunded schools and educations in Latino communities. So I also will include a link to this clip here on the Chicano Moratorium. And I've got here, let me see if I can make this easy. And here I just included some images here we see from protests around the Chicano Moratorium. Here's a poster here for the Chicano Moratorium. It says Viva la Raza, about a rally here, and also another protest here with a sign, "We didn't cross the border crossed us." That's a real central theme, right, in organizing, particularly given here in the western U.S. and in the Southwest. Quite literally, this land here at one time belonged to Mexico, literally, right? Such that, and the Mexican-American War and the loss of that land that was Mexico to the United States. So really, when you can envision this idea here, if we didn't cross the border crossed us, you can really imagine that, right? The sense of from one day to the next, you're in one country and then in another. All right, here. So this is the longest walk in 1978 from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. for Indian rights here. You see a lot of folks represented in this picture. From Muhammad Ali, Buffy St. Marie, Floyd Red Crow Westerman, Harold Smith, Stevie Wonder, Marlon Brando, Max Gail, Dick Gregory, Richie Havens, and David Amram. So this was at a concert at the end of the longest walk. It was a 3,600-mile protest march in the name of Native rights. So even seeing, folks organizing and being together in solidarity, all for supporting one another for what? For access to greater rights, right? Greater civil rights, and really a recognition of one's citizenship, which means the rights and access to the Bill of Rights. We can see here indigenous organizing. You can see here 500 years of resistance. Coretta Scott King. I wanted to include some books here that highlight the ways in which there have been solidarities between different communities throughout various eras of organizing until today. So these examples here, like Power to the Poor by Gordon Mantler. This says Black and Brown Coalition and the Fight for Economic Justice from 1960 to 1974. And Black and Brown Solidarity, Racial Politics in the New Gulf South by John D. Marquez. And these are just a few examples, right? But there are a lot of texts examining the relationships and solidarities in organizing for an expansion of rights. All right, so the truth is, I have a lot more slides here, too many, really. And I'm trying to think of a way to sum some of this up for you. And so the truth is this, I have a lot of material and so many different examples to share with you, but I also know that this is probably about time for the number of videos for this week. So, with all of the examples of discrimination that there are, including those folks we have not gotten to, right? Let it be a baseline of understanding that people have been dealing with discrimination and trying to respond to it. And for a lot of folks, there's been a struggle to fight for a more just world with less discrimination and more equal rights for everyone. So really, these examples serve to show that the discrimination has been long-standing and deep-seated. And yet we have these documents like the Bill of Rights that highlight our rights, and the struggle of people in the country has been about expanding citizenship to cover more people so that they will be seen as human and deserving of those same rights in the Bill of Rights as others who already had those rights. So I think that is the takeaway, that it has been a struggle for equal rights and justice, but that is part of what we are called to do, is to do the work so that the country becomes a more equal and just place for all. All right, everyone, take care.